Welcome to my Premiere Pro Basics class, and welcome to Film School. My name is Jason Rose. I'm going to be your instructor for this class. And let me just tell you a little bit about this class before we get going. This is going to be a little different from some of the other tutorials you might watch online, in that I'm actually going to run this like a class. I have been teaching editing for the last 15 years. I've been filmmaking or pursuing filmmaking for the last 30 years. And I'm just going to run this like a class. And what's going to make this a little different, aside from that, is that if you want to, down in the link or on my website, filmschool.com, you can buy and download the media that goes along with this little course. So today what we're going to cover is a simple two-person dialogue scene. And really, this is for the beginning editor. Okay, let's say you've never edited before, you're new to Premiere Pro, and you just want to kind of dip your toe in and learn a little bit about the basics of editing. This is the class for you. And just so you know, I'm going to do this same class not only for Premiere Pro, but I'm going to do a version for Avid Media Composer. I'm also going to do a version for DaVinci Resolve. Now, if you're more interested in a little bit more advanced editing, this might be a class you want to skip. However, I'm going to use the same media in this class that I'm going to use for future classes. So once again, if you just want to sit back and watch and see me demo this stuff, you can do that. But if you want to work along with me, you can purchase the media for this class for $9.95. I'm going to put a link down with this video, but you can also go to my website, filmschooled.com, and there will be a link that you can purchase it there as well. But you don't have to. You can just sit back and watch if you'd like. That is up to you. Okay, so what we're going to start with is Premiere Pro. We're going to start with a simple Premiere Pro project, and my goal over the next couple of hours is to simply create a project, organize a simple project, import the media, do some basic editing, in, out, insert, overwrite, maybe work with other video tracks, and then talk about how to export this simple sequence. Everything you need to know to get you from kind of A to Z in a very simple workflow. And then in other classes, we will get more advanced as we go along. We'll talk about trimming, we'll talk about titles, we'll talk about effects and things like that. But for this particular project, we're just going to keep it super simple. So I have already launched Premiere Pro. And when you first launch Premiere Pro, this is the first page that you come to, the welcome screen. And the welcome screen is where we can create a new project or open an existing project. Okay, so today we're just going to create a new project. So you can either click Create New Project right here in the middle of the screen, or you can go up to the New Project button up here in the upper left corner. You could even go to the File menu and go to New Project. Okay, it's the same thing either way. So I'm just going to click New Project. And then we're going to come to this screen. This is the import page of Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro tries to kind of simplify the process here, where we have a place where we can name our project up here in the upper left corner, choose a location for our project, and if we already know where the media is that we want to bring in from the project, we can bring it right here under this Import tab. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to name the project. Okay, now in this case, this is a simple two-person dialogue scene. I'm calling it Scene 20 because it's from an old script that I did years and years ago. So we're just going to name this project Scene 20. Whoops, if I can type. Scene 20, and then we'll put dash dialogue. Dash dialogue. Oh, still my typing is not very good tonight. Dialogue. And then as far as the project location, I'm going to leave it in the default location. When you install Premiere Pro, or really any Adobe program on your system, it's going to create an Adobe folder inside your Documents folder. And then inside of that, it's going to create a Premiere Pro folder. And then inside of that, it's going to create a number folder based on the version of Premiere Pro that you're working on. And that's going to be the default location where Premiere Pro wants to put your projects when you create them. If you want to put it somewhere else, you can click on this drop-down menu, go down to choose location, and then you can point this to wherever you want to go. But once again, in this class, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to leave it at the default location. Now, if I wanted to at this time, from this import tab, I could go over here to the left where we have different locations on our system where we might find media. For example, the media that I have for this class is on an external drive that I'm calling Media 001. Okay, so over here are the drives that are hooked up to my system. One of them is called Media 001. I can click on that, and it's going to show me a folder that I have on that drive called Scene 20 Clips. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to hide Premiere Pro. I'm going to hit Command H, which is the keyboard shortcut, and we're going to take a look on that drive. If you do decide to purchase and download the media for this class, what you're going to end up downloading is a zip file from WeTransfer, Scene 20 Clips, and when you unzip it, it's going to give you a folder called Scene 20 Clips. That's full of a bunch of QuickTime movies, but there's also the script for this particular scene. Okay, so that's on my system on an external drive, Media 001. So I'm going to go back to Premiere. I'm going to click on this. And so I could, at this point, if I wanted to, I could just check this little box, and then it would import all the media in that folder. I could also double-click this folder and take a look at all the media that's in there. And if I wanted to, I could check the little box in the upper left corner of each of these. I could even hit Command A, which is the keyboard shortcut for Select All, to select all these clips and import them as I create the project. Okay, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're just going to name our project. Once again, up here, upper left corner, Scene 20 Dialog. Leave the project location where it is. We're not going to import anything at this point. So we're not going to check anything. We're not going to navigate anywhere. Over here in the upper right corner, there's other options for what they call organizing media, which is this is going to create a bin inside our project to hold our media in. We're not going to do that. We have the option to copy our media to a different location. We're not going to do that. We have the option to create a new sequence of our media. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do any of this stuff right now. Okay, we're going to keep it super simple. We're just going to name our project, leave the default location, and we're going to go down here to the bottom right corner. We're going to click Create. And that's going to create a brand new empty project inside of Premiere Pro. Okay, now that we have Premiere Pro open and our new project created, we're going to start by going up here to this window menu, Workspaces, and we're just going to go to the Editing Workspace. This is your basic editing workspace. And just to make sure we're looking at this at the default settings, let's also go up to Window, Workspaces, Reset to Saved Layout. Reset to Saved Layout. And that's just going to put everything back in its default position. Now, all of these workspaces, the layout of all your windows, this is all customizable. Okay, but for this particular lesson, we're going to leave everything pretty much as is. We're not going to talk about customizing, but I will make a video on that. Now, as we look around the workspace here, there are 4 main panel groups. Okay, down here in the bottom left, we have the project panel group. This is where we're going to organize our project. Up here, we have our source monitor. This is where we're going to view our source clips. Over here, we have our program monitor. This is where we're going to preview our edited program or edited sequence. And then down here, we have our timeline. This is where we're going to see a graphical representation of the edit that we're making, the sequence that we're making. We also have 2 smaller tools. We have what's called the tool palette, which has various tools we might use throughout the editing process. And then over here, we have our audio meters. Okay, so we're going to start. We need to get media into our project so we can start editing. So if you see right here, it says right in the middle of the project panel that we can import media to start. And it's like, well, duh, of course I need to import media to start editing. But what this is really telling you is that one way to import media is to simply double click in your project panel. That will open up a Finder window, and then you can go navigate to the media that you want to import. Once again, in my case, my media is on my media drive, Scene 20 clips, and then there are my QuickTime movies. And I can just select them and import them here, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, we're going to cancel out of this. I'm going to show you another way to do this. Now, as I said, this window is actually a panel group, a group of panels. So across the top here, we have our project panel, we have a media browser panel, libraries, info, effects, markers, history. We're going to click on the media browser panel to bring that to the front. And this is a way that we can go look at or browse our media before we officially import it into our project. Okay, so on the left side of the media browser, we can see the drives that are hooked up to our system and other locations on our system where we might find media. So over here, I see my media drive. So I'm going to click on that, and then over here on the right, I'm going to see the folders or files that are on that drive. So there's that Scene 20 clips. And if I double click it, now I can see all of the QuickTime movies that are in that folder. And this is one way we can view the media on our system. Okay, now I'm going to go down here to the bottom of the media browser, and there are two different views here. We have what they call list view, which simply gives us a list of those clips on the drive. And then we have what they call thumbnail view, which gives us a little preview, a little thumbnail of the clips here. Now I'm going to go up to my media browser tab, and there's a little menu on the right side of it. And I'm going to turn on what's called hover scrub. And what that does is that allows me to just move my mouse over these clips while in thumbnail view to preview them. Okay, this is just one kind of quick way to preview a clip. Now, if I want to make these thumbnails, these pictures a little larger, at the bottom of the media browser, there's a slider here that I can drag to the right to make those larger. And then once again, I can simply just drag my mouse over to scrub through the clip. But we can also do this. I can click on the clip to select it and then hit my space bar on my keyboard to play through the clip.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
And you'll see that this way, not only can we play through the clip, but we can hear the audio, which we cannot hear with hover scrub. You'll notice that at the bottom of the clip, there's a blue bar with a black handle. That black handle is your playhead, and you can grab that and drag back and forth to scrub through the clip that way. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to import all of these clips. So I'm going to hit Command A on my keyboard, Control A on a Windows system, Command A on my keyboard to select all the clips. Now, as I said, there are many different ways that we can select clips and that we can import clips, but we're going to keep it simple for this class. We're going to hit Command A to select all, and then we can either go up to File, Import from Media Browser, or we can right-click on any of the selected clips and choose Import. Right-click, Import. And that's going to import all of the clips into your project panel. So you'll notice that this will flip back over to the project panel. It's now at the front, and we can see all of those clips have now been imported into our project. If we go to the bottom left corner of the project panel, there are actually three different views here. We have list view, we have icon view, which is the same as thumbnail view, and then there's another view called freeform view, which is kind of like thumbnail view. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to quickly organize this project. Okay, there are two sets of clips here. Let's go back to list view. Click on list view. And you'll see that most of these clips are named after the scene. So we start with scene 20, take 1, scene 20, take 2, and so on. And then when they move to a different camera setup, they start to add letters. So 20A, take 1, 20A, take 2, 20B, take 1, 20B, take 2, and so on. We're going to put all of these into what's called a bin. It's like a container, kind of like a folder within our project. So we need to create a bin to put these clips into. So there are several ways to do this. I could go up to File, New, Bin, File, New, Bin. Or if we go to the bottom right corner of the project panel, there's a button down here that looks like a folder. And if you rest your mouse over it, a tooltip will pop up that says New Bin. That's just another way to make a new bin. Go ahead and click on that. And that's going to add a bin to your project. And it's going to automatically highlight the name, assuming rightfully so that we're probably going to want to change that name. Okay, we're going to call this Scene 20 Clips. Scene 20 Clips. And then I want to take all of these named clips that start with 20 as the name, and I want to move them into that bin. Now, we could do that one at a time, which would take forever, but I could just click on a clip, drag and drop it right onto that bin, and that will put it in the bin. Okay, so you can just click on a clip, drag it over the bin and let go, and that will put it in the bin. Okay, but we're going to do this to multiple clips. So I'm going to click on the first clip that's not in the bin, this 20, take 3. I'm going to scroll down, find this 20K, take 1, and I'm going to shift click on that. That's one way to drag, to select a group of clips. Click on the first one, shift click on the last one, and that's going to select those two clips and anything in between them. Then you can click on any of the clips and make sure you're clicking on the icon to the left of the name, click, drag, and drop it on that bin. And now we've moved all those clips into that bin. Now to the left of the bin is a little, what we call a disclosure arrow. And you can click that to hide and reveal the clips that are in that bin, just by clicking on that little arrow to the left of the bin icon. Okay, now the rest of these clips are simply cutaways for scene 20. You might call them cutaways, you might call them B-roll, but none of these have been named. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a bin for them. So once again, I can either go File, New, Bin, or I can go down to the New Bin button, click that. Or you can also go to the empty space in your project panel, right-click, New Bin. Several different ways to create a bin. Create a new bin. It's going to once again automatically create a bin, highlight the name, and we're just going to call this Cutaways. Oops, if I could type. Cutaways. Then I'm going to grab these clips down here. I'm going to click on the first one, shift click on the last one, and then I'm going to click on any of the icons to the left of the name, drag up to my Cutaways bin, and release the mouse. And then once again, I can click that little arrow to the left of that to hide and reveal those clips. We're going to create one more bin to hold our edits, what we call our sequences. So we're going to create a sequence bin. So once again, I can either click the New Bin button right here in the bottom right corner of the project panel. I could go File, New, File, New, Bin. There's a keyboard shortcut over here, Command B. Or I can right-click in the empty space in the project panel, New Bin. We're going to call this sequences, but we're going to put an underscore in front of the name. So underscore sequences. You can hit return or click off of that. And what that underscore is going to do is this will keep this bin at the top of the list with the bins in alphabetical order. And that'll make your sequences bin easy to find. Okay, so we have our project organized. We have our clips imported. We have them organized into bins. Now we start to come to a little bit of the artistic part of the editing. The first thing you want to do, especially if you have the time, and hopefully you do, is you want to go through and you want to watch these clips. Okay, you want to watch it. You want to see what you have to work with. This is a very simple two-person dialogue scene. Okay, so as I said, I'm keeping this lesson very simple, just a lot of back and forth dialogue. And I haven't given you too many clips to worry about. Okay, there are some two shots, there are some close-ups, there are some medium shots, and then there are some other kind of, leading into the scene, getting out of the scene, and then there are, of course, the cutaways. So, to preview a clip, several ways to do this. First of all, if we want to take a look, another way to take a look inside your Scene 20 clips bin, aside from clicking that little disclosure arrow to the left of it, you can do this. You can double click the bin, and that will open it as its own tab in this panel group. Okay, so you'll notice that we've got this project Scene 20 dialog panel. That's our project panel. But now I've got this bin Scene 20 panel. Okay, so I've opened up this bin in its own panel. And I can go to the bottom left corner here. And once again, I've got list view, icon view, or freeform view. I'm going to click on icon view. Once again, I can click and drag to make these frames larger or smaller. I can also click this little menu right here. There's a sort icons menu, and you can sort them by any of these parameters. I'm going to sort them by name. I'm going to sort them by name just to make sure they're in order by name. And now I'm going to show you a feature that I really like about Premiere Pro. And this is because I do a lot of work on a laptop, and I really need to conserve my screen real estate. So what I can do is I can go up here to this bin tab where it says bin Scene 20 clips, and I can double click it. And that'll make that window go full screen. If I want to go back to regular size, I can go up to the bin tab up here, bin Scene 20 clips, and I can double click it, and that'll put it back. Okay, so once again, I've gone into icon view. I've made those frames nice and big, and then I've double clicked on that bin Scene 20 clips tab, and that makes it go full screen. And now I can see all of my clips at once. Okay, then I can do this. I can go up to the very first clip here. I can click on it. And once again, I can grab this playhead here in this blue bar and scrub through the clip. But what I can also do is I can drag to the beginning of the clip, and then I can hit my space bar to play it, and I can just watch the clip in this view. Okay. Here we go, and action.
Lunchtime. Just a minute. No. No.
Okay, and then I can go through and I can just watch each of these clips staying in this view. And then when I'm done, I can go up here, I can double click that tab and put it back in the bottom left corner. Now there is a keyboard shortcut for this. The key all the way on the left side of your keyboard, all the way to the left of the number one key, is called the tilde key or the grav key. You can tap that key, and that will make the active window go full screen. If I hit that same key again, it will go back. Now what I mean by active window is this blue outline right here. Okay, so there's a blue outline around this window. If that window's active and I hit the tilde key, that window goes full screen. If I hit it again, it goes back. If I were to go up here and click on my source monitor, which right now has nothing in it, but if I click on my source monitor and it's the active window and I hit the tilde key, that window is going to go full screen. If I hit it again, it will go back. Okay, so that brings me to my next point. Another way to watch a clip is to load it into the source monitor. Okay, so I can double click a clip in my bin, and that will load it in the source monitor. You can also grab a clip and drag it to the source monitor, or you can right click on a clip and choose Open in Source Monitor. I typically double click. So I'm going to double click this clip. I'm going to load it into the source monitor. And now I've got this little ruler area right here with this little blue thing that looks like the home plate on a baseball field. That is your playhead. You can grab that and you can scrub through the clip that way. You can also click anywhere in that ruler area and your playhead will jump to where you click. If you want to go to the very beginning of the clip, if you're working with an extended keyboard, you can hit the home key on your keyboard to jump to the head of the clip, or the end key to jump to the end of the clip. Home and end. Once again, the space bar will play and pause the clip. So I'm going to hit the space bar. I'm just going to watch a little bit of this clip.
Scene 20. Hold your bathroom. Come on in.
Okay, we're about to roll.
You want to be over there or over there?
She can just stay there for this.
All right. Scene 20. Take 1.
Okay. Here we go, and action.
Lunchtime.
And then once again, I can hit my space bar to pause it. Now, just so you know, we do have transport controls down here. We've got the play button here, so I can always just click on this to play.
No. No.
And pause the clip. But let me tell you some keyboard shortcuts that are pretty much universal on any editing program. Okay, so once again, the space bar will play and pause the clip, whether or not you're working in Premiere, Avid, DaVinci Resolve. It will play.
Okay.
And pause the clip. But you can also use your J, K, and L keys to play through a clip. The L will play forward.
What is this? Green tea. But I wanted a Coke.
K will pause it, and J will play backwards. And once again, K will pause it. So, the more you hit L, the faster it will play forwards. So I can hit L once.
What is this?
Then I can hit it again.
I want a Coke. Soda is bad for you, plus you.
And then again. And then again. The more I hit L, the faster it goes. K will pause it. And then J will play backwards. And the more I hit J, the faster it will play backwards. So J. J again. And again. And again. And then once again, K will pause it. So that's J, K, and L. If you hold down K and L at the same time, it will play forward in slow motion. If you hold down K and J at the same time, it will play backwards in slow motion. Okay, so that's J, K, and L, and that will work that way in pretty much any editing program. Okay, so I'm going to hit L to go forward. Okay. I'm going to hit it a few times to kind of fast forward. And then I'm going to hit K to pause it. Now, if you want to just step forward one frame at a time, or backwards one frame at a time, there are buttons right here. Step forward one frame, step backward one frame, or step back one frame. Okay, you can click those to go forward or backwards one frame at a time. But you can also use your left and right arrow keys. So if I tap on my right arrow, It's going to go forward 1 frame at a time. If I hit my left arrow, it's going to go backwards 1 frame at a time. So that's your left and right arrow. If we look over here in the bottom left corner of the source monitor, we have the time code field. This is the time code that the camera assigned to every frame of this clip. Think of this as the address for this particular frame of video. And if you've never worked with time code before, we read it this way: hours, minutes, seconds, frames. Hours, minutes, second, frames. So I would read this as 17 hours, 1 minute, 18 seconds, and 0 frames. And every time I hit my right arrow, we can see it's going to go up 1 frame at a time. And since this is a 24 frame per second project, when we get up to 23, it moves up to the next second. Okay, so your left and right arrow move backwards and forwards 1 frame at a time. Okay, now if you do shift and your left and right arrow, it's going to move forward or back 5 frames at a time. So that shift right arrow, 5 frames forward, shift left arrow, 5 frames backwards. Okay, just different ways to navigate through the clip. Okay, so once again, you're going to want to go through and you're going to want to watch all the clips, all of your media, and you're of course going to want to go read the script before you even start your edit. So once again, if I hide Premiere Pro and take a look at this downloaded media in the Scene 20 clips that hopefully you've downloaded, if we scroll down, there's also a PDF of the script. So you're definitely going to want to open that up, read it. It's only about 4 pages, and just get familiar with the material. Okay, so at this point, if I were you, I would pause this video, read the script, watch at least a few of the clips, and then when you feel like you know the material pretty well, go ahead and start the video back up. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start back up. So now that you've had time to go through, read the script, view the footage, we're going to start to put together our simple sequence here. So feel free to kind of do your own thing as you put this together, but I'm going to start out very basic. I'm going to start with Scene 20, take 2. Scene 20, take 2. And really, I'm just going to start to mark this after we hear action. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to mark a clip, how to use the part of the clip that you want in your sequence. So the first thing I would do, and this part is completely optional, is I'm going to make sure that my overlays are on my screen. And I'll show you what overlays are in a second. But here's how we turn them on. In the bottom right corner of your source monitor is a little menu that looks like a wrench. I'm going to click on that, and down at the bottom there's an option called Overlays. Okay, make sure that is checked. Make sure that is checked. Okay, then I just want you to take a look at this. Grab your playhead and drag it all the way to the left, all the way to the beginning of the clip. And when your overlays are turned on, you're going to see this little zebra striping over here on the left side of the screen. And that's basically telling you this is the first frame of the clip. You cannot go any earlier than this. Okay, now I'm going to grab my playhead. I'm going to drag it all the way to the end of the clip. And when you're at the end of the clip, you're going to see this zebra striping over here to let you know that you're at the tail of the clip. You're at the tail of the clip, the end of the clip. You cannot go any later than this frame. Sometimes if you go even further, you'll get a purple bar, but that's still on the same frame. Once again, letting you know that you're at the tail of the clip. You cannot, there's no more clip beyond this. So that's one of the things that you're going to see when your overlays are turned on. Okay, now I'm going to drag my playhead to the beginning of the clip, I'm going to play it and I'm going to listen for action. Here we go, and action. Okay, right there. Right after she says action, I'm going to stop playback. Okay, so once again, I was using J, K, and L, but you might also just drag your playhead back, hit the play button here. Here we go, and action. And as soon as you hit action, you're going to stop playback. Okay, so this is where I want to start using the clip. So I'm going to mark an endpoint. I'm going to mark what we call an endpoint. So right here is the mark in button. You can also hit I on your keyboard. I is the keyboard shortcut for in, or mark in. Okay, so I hit the mark in button and a couple things happen. First of all, where my playhead is, there's now a mark in, and we'll see that the area to the right of it is highlighted now. Basically saying this is the part of the clip that I'm using, this highlighted portion. And if you have your overlays turned on, you're going to see this little L looking symbol, this little yellow L looking symbol in the bottom left corner of the screen, letting you know that you've marked an endpoint on that frame of video. This is where we're going to start using this clip that we're going to be putting into our edit. Okay, so I'm going to play it. I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, so I'm going to stop her right there. So I want to end this clip right after she says no, now. Okay, so I might drag my playhead back and play it again.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
And then stop her right there. And then if I want to precisely mark my in and out points, which is what we're going to do in this lesson. Later on in other lessons, I'll show you how you can be a little bit more loose with your edit and then trim it down later on. But for this class, we're going to be very precise when we mark our in and out points. So once I get it close, I might use my step back 1 frame, step forward 1 frame buttons to precisely set my in and out points. I could also use my left and right arrows to do this. Okay, so I'm just using my left and right arrows. And I'm going to say right here is where I want to stop using the clip. So I'm going to mark an out. So right here's my mark out button. O is the keyboard shortcut. And when I click it, I now have a mark out at my playhead location. The area between the in and out points is highlighted. And if my overlays are turned on, I'm going to see this backwards yellow L right here in the bottom right corner. And once again, we turn our overlays on by clicking this little wrench menu right here. This is called a settings menu for our source monitor, and making sure that overlays is checked. Okay, now I would like to preview the area that I marked in this clip. I want to play from in to out here. Okay, well, if you're not sure what a button does under your source monitor, you can just rest your mouse over the button and a tooltip will pop up that tells you what that button does and what the keyboard shortcut is. Okay, so here I have add marker, we have mark in, mark out, go to in. Over here we have go to out. Okay, here we've got our play, stop, toggle, step back 1 frame, step forward 1 frame. Then we have other functions like insert, overwrite, export frame, toggle proxies. Okay, none of these are the buttons that we want. Okay, but this is a good way to kind of learn what your buttons do and what the keyboard shortcuts are. Okay, but these don't give me what I want. I want to play my video from the in to the out. Well, we can add buttons to our button bar here underneath the source monitor. In the very bottom right corner of the source monitor, there's a little plus symbol. This is the button editor. And when we click it, it opens up a panel that gives me buttons that I can add to my button bar. And once again, if you're not sure what these buttons do, just rest your mouse over them. A tooltip will pop up, tells you what that button does. Okay, so we're looking for this button right here in the upper right of this panel, play video into out. I can click and I can drag that, and I can either add it to this first row of buttons, or I can even start a second row of buttons. So I'm going to drop it just underneath the play button. I click OK, and now when I click this new button, play video into out, it's just going to play the marked portion of that clip.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, so that's how we can add buttons to the interface. Once again, bottom right corner, button editor, click it, find the button you want, and simply drag it down here to your button bars. If you want to get rid of a button, you can open this up and simply drag it out or click Reset Layout. That'll put everything back in its default location. Okay, so I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to leave it like it is. I'm going to play that one more time.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, now I'm going to create my sequence. I'm going to start my edit. So let's do this. I'm going to go over to my project panel. I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to close these bins here. I'm just going to click the little disclosure arrows next to my bins. And I actually, I'm missing a bin that I created earlier. I created a sequences bin, but I quit out. I must have quit out of my project before saving it. So I'm going to create a new bin here for my sequences. So once again, I can click the new bin button, or I can right click, new bin. I'm going to call it sequences, but I'm going to put an underscore in front of the name. And then to create a sequence, we're going to do this the easiest way possible. Okay, once again, just like everything else, there are usually 3 or 4 different ways to do something in these programs. Okay, but if you look in the middle of your timeline, look right here, it says drop media here to create sequence. Okay, so what I can do, what that means is I can go up here to my source monitor, click in the middle of my source monitor, drag down to the timeline window, and release the mouse. And that will create a brand new sequence based on the clip that you just dropped into it. Okay, so if we look over here, I now have a new item in my project. And it's named after the first clip that I dropped into it. Okay, so I'm using Scene 20 Take 2. And this new sequence that I created is called Scene 20 Take 2. But aside from that, it also has the same frame size and frame rate as the clip that I dropped into it. And it has the audio channels that clip had. Okay, now you want to do 2 things at this point. First of all, you want to rename the sequence. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to my new sequence. And by the way we know it's a sequence is first of all the icon to the left of the name. That is a sequence icon. It's supposed to look like a couple of video tracks and an audio track with a playhead going down through the middle. But also if you rest your mouse over it, a tooltip will pop up that says sequence, 1920 by 1080, 24 frames per second, so on. Okay, so we're going to rename this. To rename this, I'm going to simply click once on the name, and it's going to highlight. And we're just going to call this Scene 20 version 1. Scene 20 version 1. Then I'm going to click on the icon to the left of the name, and I'm going to drag it to my sequences bin. I'm going to drop it in there just so I can keep my project nice, neat, and organized. Now, anytime you find yourself pausing, it's a good idea to save your work. Okay, so there is an autosave for Premiere Pro. We'll talk about that in other lessons, but it goes off every so many minutes. But it's a good idea to get in the habit of saving your own work. So we can either go up to File, Save, keyboard shortcut Command S. And that'll just save our work. Okay, so if I look at my timeline right now, it has just one clip in it. And if I go over to my program monitor, in fact, let me go over here and reset my button bar here. I have some buttons left over from another class that I was teaching, so I just want to kind of reset this. So I've got the same transport controls over here that coincide with my sequence that's open in the timeline. So if I play this...
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, this is the editing that I'm doing. Okay, so I've kind of started my scene here with this kind of wider two shot.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, now's where the creativity comes in. Now I'm going to need to think about what do I want to do next? Well, I know the next line is this character right here. Okay, her name is Rory. Okay, and then we've got this character here. Her name's Tristan. Okay, so once again, I've studied my script. I know what the next line is. I know I want to cut to her. So I'm going to go back down to my project panel group. I'm going to click on the Scene 20 Clips tab. I'm just going to scroll down. And I've got a couple of kind of medium shots of Rory here. Okay, so I'd play them and I'd kind of think of, which performance is better? Which one do I like better? Okay, so I'm just going to start with 20A, take one. Kind of drag it back somewhere near the beginning. I don't have to go all the way back. But I'm just going to play it, and I'm going to look for her next line.
When I lean over, I'll lean like...
Here we go, ready, and action.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now. Okay. What is this? Green tea. I wanted a Coke. Soda is bad for you, and you've been looking a little puffy lately.
Okay, so then I'm just going to load the next clip in. 28, take two. Drag my play back and kind of play that section again.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now. Okay. What is this?
Okay, so I like this one a little bit better. So I'm going to find it right after she says no, now.
Just a minute. No, now.
So maybe right about there. Now, once again, if you want to review, since we are cutting this very precisely, you might go back down to your timeline, drag your play in here, and kind of think about where it ends.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, and if we just hit our left arrow and go back. Okay, so we're kind of got the same thing going here. Oh, notice her hand isn't quite in the same place here as it is here. Now, I don't think the audience would notice that. So I'm going to live with it. I'm going to live with it. Maybe if it was really bothering me, maybe I go back to 28, take one. And take a look.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, so here's where the art comes in. Her hand is not up here. Okay, that action is not going to match. But I don't think the audience would notice. And also, we really care. Continuity is kind of somewhere down the line as far as what's important. Okay, if it's something that's going to be super obvious, you do it. But in this case, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to go with take two. It doesn't matter. She doesn't have her hand up in either of these anyway. So I'm just going to find...
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
We'll say right about there. Okay, so I'm going to mark it in. L to play forward.
Okay. What is this? Green tea.
Okay, so I'm going to stop her right after she says, what is this? So I'm going to go back by hitting the J key.
Says it. Oh.
K to pause it, L to go forward.
What is this?
And I'm just going to stop it right around there. And I'm going to hit O to mark an out. I'm going to hit O to mark and out. And then once again, I want to play just this area that I marked. So I'm going to hit play video into out.
Okay. What is this?
And I want to take this clip and I want to put it right after this one in the timeline. So once again, several different ways we can do this. We're going to do our first few edits by just doing drag and drop editing, what we call drag and drop editing. I'm going to click in the middle of my source monitor. I'm going to drag down to the timeline. And as I drag it down, I'm going to drag all these clips down until my mouse is over the video 1 track. And then I'm going to drag it over to the left until I see it snap like a magnet to the end of that other clip. And then release the mouse. And I've edited that clip into the timeline. Okay, now I'm going to preview the edit. Up here at the top of your timeline, we've got this ruler area. And if you want to drag your play it around in the timeline, you want to either click on the ruler area, or you can put your mouse over the playhead in the empty space above your tracks to where you see this double-headed arrow and drag it that way. So I'm just going to drag this all the way back to the beginning of the sequence, and I'm just going to play it. I'm going to watch my edit up here in the program monitor.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now. Okay. What is this?
Okay, so there's my first edit. Is it perfect? Not exactly, but it kind of gets us into the scene. Now, really quick here. All the same keyboard shortcuts I used to play the clip up here in the source monitor will work for our timeline. Okay, so with my timeline active, if I want to go to the beginning of my sequence, I can hit the home key. If I want to go to the end of the sequence, I can hit the end key. But I can also use my up and down arrows to jump from edit point to edit point in the timeline. Up and down arrows to jump from edit point to edit point in the timeline. I can once again hit the space bar to play it.
Lunch break.
Space bar to pause it. I can use my J, K, and L keys. L to play forward.
No, no.
The more I hit L, the faster it goes. K pauses it. J plays backwards. The more I hit J, the faster it plays backwards. Okay, so once again, I'm going to play this.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now. Okay. What is this?
Okay, so now we need to cut to the other character. We want to cut to Tristan saying green tea. So I go over to my project panel. I'm going to scroll down. And, you know, as I go through this, I'm noticing, some of these shots, the thumbnail over here is obstructed by the slate. And the whole point of icon view or thumbnail view, whatever you want to call it, is that we can quickly look at these pictures and get an idea of what's going on in the shot. Well, in Premiere Pro, you can actually change that thumbnail by doing this. With hover scrub on. And once again, if we go up to the bin tab menu, this little 3-line menu here on the right side of the tab, we want to make sure hover scrub is on. Run your mouse over the clip until you have a shot that better represents what's going on in the clip. And then you can right-click Set Poster Frame. Right-click Set Poster Frame. And that will change the poster frame of that clip. Okay, so I would probably take a few minutes here and go through, right-click Set Poster Frame. Hover scrub, right-click, Set Poster Frame. And I would do that on a lot of these shots. Okay, I'm not going to do it on all of them right now. I might, during the break or something, I'll go do that. But really, I just want to show you that now we're going to go down to the 20C. There's a take 1 and a take 2 of Tristan's medium shot. Okay, so once again, she's just saying green tea here. Usually I would look at both of them and figure out which one I'm going to use. I'm just going to go straight for take 2. Drag my play kind of to the beginning here. and I'm going to find her, green tea.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No. Now. Okay. What is this? Green tea.
Okay, right there. So I'm going to mark that. So I'm going to hit J to go backwards, K to pause it, L to go forward.
What is this?
And then K to pause it. And then once I get it close, I'm going to use my left and right arrows. And maybe get it right before she, obviously before she says green tea, but after she says, what's this? And I'm going to mark an end point. I'm going to hit I to mark an in, L to play forward.
Green tea.
I'm going to stop it right there. O to mark an out. O to mark an out. Okay, once again, if I want to play just the area that I marked, I'm going to hit play video into out.
Green tea.
And then I'm just going to drag and drop this at the end of my sequence. So I'm going to click in the middle of my source monitor, drag down to the timeline, snap it to the end of this other clip. Once again, as you drag it, it'll get close to this other clip and then it'll snap like a magnet and release the mouse. Now at this point, if you make a mistake, if you let go of a clip and it goes to the wrong place, for this class, just hit Command Z, Control Z on a Windows system to undo it. Or if you drag and drop a clip in the wrong place, another way to get rid of it is to simply select the clip and hit delete on your keyboard. Okay, so once again, we're keeping things simple. Just a simple drag and drop or click and delete, Command Z. We're not going to worry about trimming, stuff like that right now. Okay, if you make a mistake, simply undo or delete it. Okay, so once again, I'm going to click in the middle of my source monitor, drag down to the timeline. I'm just going to drag it until I see it snap like a magnet to the end of this other clip. And then I'm just going to grab my play and I'm going to drag it back and play it.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No. Now. Okay. What is this? Green tea.
Okay, so now here it's just going to be a back and forth between some of these clips. Okay, so I'm going to go back over to my Scene 20 clips. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to go back to Rory's medium shot, 28 take 2. And you'll notice that my in and out points are still here from the previous edit. Okay, now that's okay. This is kind of the way we want it. Now they will stay there until I either clear them myself or until I mark new in and out points. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to simply mark new in and out points. So I'm going to drag my play back and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to stop it right after I hear Tristan say green tea.
Okay. What is this? Green tea.
Okay, right there. So I could hear that Rory here starts to talk, so it's the dialogue is really tight here. So I'm just going to use my left arrow to go back a couple frames, and then I'm going to hit I to mark a new endpoint. Or once again, I could hit the mark in right here, but look at these in and out points that are here right now. When I mark a new endpoint, boom, those go away, and I now have a new mark in. This is the part of the clip that I'm going to use for this next edit. Okay, so I hit I to mark an in. I'm going to play it.
But I wanted a Coke.
Okay, that's going to be your line, but I wanted a Coke.
But I wanted a Coke. No. I want.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right after she says I wanted a Coke. I'm just using my J, K, and L keys to go forward or backward. You could also, if you wanted to, grab your playhead and drag it like that till you get it right in the right spot. And then we're going to hit O to mark an out, or hit the mark out button right here. I'm going to play video into out.
But I wanted a Coke.
And then I'm going to simply click and drag that from the source monitor into the timeline to the end of this other clip. Snap it to the end of that other clip like a magnet and release the mouse. I'm going to drag my playhead back and check my work.
Lunch break. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay. What is this?
Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Okay, so I'm going to do this one more time. And then I'm going to suggest we take a break so you guys can do your own at this. And then I'm going to talk about some other options in a moment here. But let's go back to Rory's medium shot. Once again, here, the in and out points that were here earlier. I'm just going to drag my playhead back to those. By the way, if I wanted to jump back to the in point or the out point, there's a go to in button right here. That'll jump to the in point. There's a go to out button right there that will jump to the out point. So I'm just going to play it.
But I wanted a Coke.
Right there. And I'm going to stop my playhead right after she says, but I wanted a Coke. I'm going to hit I to mark an in, L to play forward.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. So this is better for you. Trust me.
Okay. And then I go, you know what? I'm not sure how I feel about her line reading in that. That's a 20C take 2. So maybe I go to 20C take 1. Drag my playhead back and look at her line reading here.
Now.
Okay.
What is this? Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me.
Okay, so I think that's a little better. So I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to find where Rory says, but I wanted a Coke.
What is this? Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right after that. I'm going to hit I to mark an in, L to play forward.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John.
Okay, so where's Hal? That's where we want to end it.
Where's Hal?
Okay, so right about there, I'm going to hit O to mark an out. And then, of course, I'm going to double check it. I'm going to hit play video into out to see what I've marked.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
And then once again, I'm going to click in the middle of my source monitor, drag down to the timeline, drag to the end of this clip, drag it until I see it snap like a magnet to the end of the previous clip, release the mouse, drag my playhead back, and I'm just going to play it. I'm going to check my work. I'm just going to hit the space bar.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay. What is this?
Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
Okay, so now we're starting to get a few clips into the timeline. It's actually getting hard to see all of my clips at once. So at the bottom of your timeline, there is this kind of scroll bar. And if we can click in the middle of the scroll bar and kind of drag to the left and the right to move up and down the timeline. But we can also grab these little tabs on either side of the scroll bar and drag in or out to zoom in and out on the playhead location. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I have a little bit more space to work in my timeline. Okay, so take a few minutes and edit these first few clips into your timeline if you need to back up and play through that section again. But in a moment, I'm going to talk about using your keyboard and using the insert and overwrite functions rather than just dragging clips into the timeline. Okay, that's our basic drag and drop editing. But now I'm going to talk about using the insert and overwrite functions in just a moment. So once again, pause this if you need to, go back, and we'll start back up in just a second. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start back up. So we're going to move on from our drag and drop editing, and we're going to actually start using the insert and overwrite functions. Now, just so you know, since we're right now just putting one clip right after another, we could do insert or overwrite. It really doesn't matter which one if you're just putting clips at the end of your sequence. So we're going to be doing inserts for this, even though we're not really inserting, we're just kind of placing it at the end of our sequence here. So once again, I'm going to click on my timeline. I'm going to hit the home key on my keyboard to jump to the beginning of my sequence here, or I could just grab my playhead and drag it to the beginning of my sequence. And then I'm just going to play it, watch it, see what I have.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay. What is this?
Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
Okay, so now I want to go back to Rory's medium shot. Okay, so I want to go back to 20A take 2. Now I could go over here, I could find it in the bin, and I could double click it to load it back into the source monitor. But we could also do this another way. If you go up to your source monitor tab up here in the upper left corner of the source monitor, there's a little menu to the right of that. These 3 lines here, that represents a menu for this tab. And when you click it for your source monitor, it gives you a list of clips that have recently been loaded into that monitor. And you can reload them by selecting them from the list. So I'm going to go to 20A take 2, 20A take 2, and that's going to load that back into the source monitor. Okay, so I'm going to find her next line after "Where's Hal?"
No. Soda is bad for you. You've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you look?
Okay, right there. So he's out with John and Vincent. Now, once again, I'm not sure if I like her reading there. So I'm going to go up here to the source monitor tab menu. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to load 20A take 1 in here. And I'm just going to find that same line.
Okay. What is this?
Green tea.
I wanted a Coke.
Soda is bad for you, and you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Okay, they're right there. Okay, that's what I want to use. So I'm going to hit J to go backwards, L to play forward, and then I'm going to hit I to mark an in.
He's out with John and Vincent.
And then once again, I'm just going to use my left and right arrows to back up a little bit, O to mark an out. Okay, now, I'm not going to drag this into the timeline. Instead, I'm going to make sure that my playhead is at the end of my sequence, because that's where the clip is going to go. And then I'm going to click the Insert button. So right here underneath the source monitor, this button right here is the Insert button. The comma key on your keyboard, comma, is the keyboard shortcut. Okay, so I'm just going to click that, or I'm going to hit comma on my keyboard, and take a look at your timeline when you do this. Boom. It edits that clip at the playhead location, and the playhead jumps to the end of the clip kind of anticipating the next edit. Okay, I'm going to drag my playhead back in the timeline, just a couple clips, and I'm going to check my work.
You've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Okay, so now this starts into a more little argumentative part of the scene. Okay, if you've read the script, they kind of argue over this. So now I think I want to go into a close-up for Tristan's response. So I'm going to scroll down. And once again, let's just kind of back up here. Okay, so here's her close-up. It looks like we might have 3 takes of this. And as I mentioned earlier, I can change this poster frame by right-click, set poster frame, and then I'll do that for these other 2 as well. because I initially went down here, I wasn't quite sure which one of these were the close-ups. Right-click, set poster frame. Okay, and then once again, I would go through these. I'd play each of them. But for the sake of speed, I'm just going to go right to the last take. So I'm going to double-click it. I'm going to drag my playhead back. And just look for that, where's Hal line.
What's this?
Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Soda is bad for you. And you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Okay, right there. So this is going to be her response to that. So I'm just going to back it up, and I'm going to find the end of he's out with John and Vincent.
With John and Vincent.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause it right there, and I'm going to hit I to mark an in. And I'm going to find her. I'm going to play it. I'm going to listen to her line.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Okay, we don't want the what, so I'm just going to hit my left arrow to get right before she says what, and I'm going to hit O to mark an out. And then, of course, we will play in to out.
Why do you let him do that to you?
And then my play it is still at the end of my sequence. I'm going to hit the insert button or comma on my keyboard. Just drag my play it back and check it.
Lately, this is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
Okay, then we're going to go to Rory's close-up. Okay, so once again, it looks like we have 3 takes of that. I would go through, I'd watch each one, but for the sake of speed, let's just go to the last take here. Just going to drag my playhead back and play it.
What's this? Green tea. I want a Coke.
Soda is bad for you, and you've been looking a little puffy lately. So this is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What? Still.
Wait.
Okay, so I'm just going to back it up. I'm going to mark an in and an out around what? Mark an in.
What?
Mark an out. And then once again, I'm going to hit the insert button or the comma key on my keyboard to edit that into the timeline.
Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Okay, and then we're going to go back to Rory's angle. I'm just going to go straight for take 3. But once again, I would suggest take a moment, pause this video, watch all 3 on your own, pick out your favorite response. Okay, so I'm just going to play this.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
Okay, right there.
You knock her wool off my...
Dump all the work on you. So I'm just using my left and right arrows. Going to hit I to mark an in.
Dump all the work on you?
And then once again, left and right arrows. Till I find the end of her line there. O to mark it out. And I'm going to hit the comma key to insert that into the timeline. Drag my playhead back and check it.
Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
Okay, and then I'm going to do this next one a little differently. Let's go back to Rory's close-up. Once again, I'm just going to use take 3 here, 20B take 3.
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He does.
Okay, the he doesn't. So maybe right about here, I'm going to mark an endpoint.
He doesn't.
O to mark an out. And now I'm going to do kind of a mix of drag and drop editing, but also insert and overwrite. Once again, my playhead is at the end of my sequence. That's where the clip is going to go. I'm going to click in the middle of my source monitor, but this time instead of dragging into the timeline, I'm going to drag over to the program monitor. And when you do, these overlays pop up that give you the option of different types of edits. Okay, so we've got the main one is going to be insert right in the middle. Okay, that's what we've basically been doing. Okay, then there's overlay, which is going to put it on an upper track. Replace will actually replace the clip under the playhead if your playhead was over a clip. Override is going to cover up wherever you edited onto. Then there's insert after and insert before the clip. Okay, we're just going to drop this on insert. And it's going to insert that clip at the playhead location. I'm going to drag my playhead back and check it.
Coffee lately? This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
Okay, so now I think for this next part of the conversation, I want to move back to a medium shot. Might be a little early for a medium shot, but I don't know. I think I'm going to go back to the medium shot. So I'm going to scroll down and I'll go to Tristan's second take for her medium shot. Going to kind of drag my play back and check it or play it.
Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
Okay, right here. Okay, so I'm just going to back it up because I like that way she kind of tilts her head, like give me a break. So I'm just using my left and right arrows to kind of move backward and forward. I'm going to hit I to mark and in,
He's never here.
O to mark and out, and then once again I'm going to insert that clip into the timeline. And then we will go back to Rory's medium shot. I'm just going to use take 2 of that as well.
Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Okay, right there. So, yeah, she gives a little attitude in this, so I'm going to mark it in and out around that. So I'm just using J, K, and L to move backwards and forwards, I to mark it in, L to play forward.
He works at
Whoops. Didn't get it quite in quite the right place because I could still hear Tristan. So let me use my left and right arrows to more precisely place my playhead, and then I to mark it in, L to play forward,
He works at night.
O to mark it out. And then once again, before I do my edit, I do want to check it. Check the area that I marked. So I'm going to hit play video into out.
He works at night.
And then I'm going to hit the insert button or comma on my keyboard. Then we'll go back to Tristan's medium shot. Once again, I can go down here to the bin and reload 20C take 2, or I could go up to my source monitor tab menu, find 20C take 2 here. Same thing either way. Let's find her response.
He works at night.
Okay, right there. She does a nice little eye roll right there. Okay, so I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
Really?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Okay, so she says really. So I'm going to mark it in and out around that.
Really?
And then once again, I could do an insert. And just to show you, the button just to the right of insert is overwrite. Period is the keyboard shortcut. If your playhead is at the end of your timeline, it's going to do the same thing as insert at this point. So if I hit overwrite or period, it's going to edit that clip at the end of your sequence. The playhead's going to jump to the end of the clip, kind of anticipating the next edit. I'm going to drag my playhead back and check it.
Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Okay, so let's go back to Rory's medium shot. And once again, because I kind of move my playhead around mainly because when you have hover scrub on and you move your playhead over a clip, that's where your playhead's going to be when you double click it. So that's why my playhead keeps ending up like all the way over here. If you get annoyed with that, if you get tired of that happening, you can go to your bin tab menu. Okay, so if I go up here to my bin scene 20 clips, click on that little 3-line menu on the right of that, I can turn off hover scrub to keep that from happening. Okay, so I'm going to go up here. I'm going to hit the go to out button right there. That'll just jump to my out point. And then I'm going to play it. I'm going to listen for her next line.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day.
Okay, so right there. So I'm just going to back this up.
Really?
I'm going to mark an endpoint right after really. I'm going to mark an endpoint right after really. I to mark an in. L to play forward.
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
Why are you... Yeah.
Okay, so I want to find the end of her line where when the sun is coming up.
Leaves because the sun is coming up.
But before we hear Tristan sigh, so probably right about there. Now let me show you a little trick here that this may or may not help in this particular case. But sometimes when you are trying to be very precise as to where you're marking your in and out point, you're kind of using audio to do this. So like right now, I'm focusing more on their dialogue than I am on the picture. You can do this. Right underneath the source monitor are 2 little buttons. One looks like a piece of film, and the other is supposed to look like an audio waveform, a visual representation of an audio signal. And if you rest your mouse over them, the film strip, a tooltip will pop up that says drag video only. If you rest your mouse over the audio waveform, it says drag audio only. And that's just for dragging just the audio or video portion of a clip into the timeline. But they serve a dual purpose. If we click on the audio waveform button, it will give us an audio waveform view of our clip. Then underneath the ruler area, underneath the source monitor, there's a scroll bar that we can use to zoom in at the playhead location. Okay, now these clips have been pre-prepared for us. So one of the actresses' dialogue is on one channel and the other's actress's dialogue is on the other channel. And this is going to allow me to use this audio waveform to precisely put that my out point where I want it. Okay, so the top channel is going to be Rory's microphone. This one's going to be Tristan's microphone. I'm going to drag my playhead back and play it.
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
Why are you such an...
Okay, so right there, we can see up here, this is where Rory finishes her line, and down here, that's where Tristan starts to sigh. Okay, so I want to put my playhead right between that, and then I'm going to hit O to mark an out. To get back to my video view, I can go down here and click on this little film strip icon. And then once again, I'm just going to zoom out here so I can see the entire clip. And then I'm going to hit play video and out just to make sure I've marked what I want to mark.
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
And then I'm going to hit the insert button or comma on my keyboard. And once again, I'm going to drag my playhead back in my timeline, check my work.
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
Okay, so now let's go back to Tristan's angle. This time I'm going to go up to my source monitor tab menu. I'm going to load 20C take 2 back into here. I'm just going to play it. I'm going to find her next line.
Yeah, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and sets up projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking.
Okay, right there.
What is this?
Okay, so I'm going to find, right before she says her line, I'm going to hit I to mark it in, L to play forward.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he is.
Okay, and then once again, if I want to precisely get my play at the end of her dialogue, I might go down to the bottom of my source monitor, click on the audio waveform button, zoom in, just so I can clearly see that waveform.
Wait, and I think he's taking advantage of you.
No.
Okay, so right there, that's the end of her line, and I can hit O to mark it out. I will go ahead and play video into out here, even though I don't see the video, I'm just listening to it.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
I'm going to click this little film strip button right here so I can see the video again. I'm going to hit play video into out again just to watch it.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
And then once again, I'm going to hit the insert button. I'm going to drag my play back and check it. Now, you don't have to check it every single time you do an edit, but, you know, for the sake of this class, I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
Okay, so now let's kind of move back into a close-up. So we'll go to Rory's angle. I'm going to hit the go to out button just to kind of jump to where we last left off with this clip. And I'm just going to play through.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new ones for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
Why are you such an apologist for him? He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't.
Okay, so no, he isn't. So I'm just going to mark an in and out around that. Okay, so I'm getting my play. I'm using my left and right arrows to move backwards and forwards one frame at a time to get my play right before she says no, he isn't. I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
No, he isn't. He is.
Okay, so check this out. There, Tristan doesn't say a line here, but she obviously is making some kind of a face.
No, he isn't.
Okay, so right after she says no, he isn't, I'm going to hit O to mark it out.
No, he isn't.
And I'm going to hit the insert button. But now we're going to go to a close-up of Tristan. Hit the go to out button to where we left off with this clip. And we're going to go find her reaction to no, he isn't.
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yeah, it's true. He finishes the work from the day before and sets up the projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
Okay, so right there, she does a little bit of a reaction there. It's not great. So let's check the other ones. We'll kind of, leave our play ed there. But let's go to the other take. So that's take 3. Let's just back up to take 2.
On you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new ones for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't.
Okay, right there. So I'm going to get my play ed right after no, he isn't. So maybe right about there, I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
He is.
And then O to mark it out. Now, there's other ways to do this. There's actually probably better ways to do this. But for this simple edit that we're doing, we're just, one clip right after another. Okay, there's probably better ways to put reaction shots in. In fact, I'm going to show you near the end of this lesson. But for right now, we're just doing back and forth, back and forth. So it's just her reaction here, turning of the head, and then I'm going to insert. I'm going to go down to the timeline, drag my playhead back, take a look at it.
New projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't.
Okay, then let's go back to Rory's close-up. Go to out.
He isn't.
Okay, so she does a little turn of the head in response. So I'm going to hit I to mark and in,
He isn't.
O to mark and out, insert or comma on my keyboard. Once again, I've got my scroll bar down here. I'm kind of starting to run out of a little bit of space. So I'm just going to zoom out a little further. Let's check this.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
Okay, and then let's go back to Tristan's close-up. Go to out.
He doesn't.
Oh, wait, we didn't like that. Well,
Never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yeah, it's true. He finishes the work from the day before and sets up the projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business.
okay, you know what? I think this is better if we go to medium shot. So once again, I'm just going to go straight to take two here. The last time I did this, I zoomed in, so I've got my little scroll bar here. I'm just going to zoom back out.
He isn't.
You know what I say?
Okay, so here's the line.
He isn't.
So I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
Like I said, yeah.
Sure, well, all you do is leaves you to do all the work.
Okay, so once again, I'm going to use my left and right arrows to get it right at the end of her line. O to mark and out. We do hear Rory say what kind of in the middle of this. We don't need to cut back to her for that. So I'm just going to hit play video into out.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
And then once again, I'm going to hit insert or comma on my keyboard. Drag my playhead back and check a little bit of this.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
Okay, so now let's go back to Rory's medium shot.
Your own business. You're too good to work for someone who slacks off any chance he gets and leaves you to do all the work.
That's not.
Girl, well,
Okay, so here's her response.
That's not.
So once again, using my left and right arrows to find the beginning of her line, I to mark it in.
That's not how it is.
Ooh, that one's really kind of tight, getting that endpoint in the right place. So I'm going to click this little audio waveform button so I can switch to my audio view. I'm going to hit go to in where I marked this endpoint, but I feel like it's off just a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in, grab this scroll bar, zoom in. And yeah, sure enough, it looks like we got a little bit of Rory's, Tristan's line here. Roy doesn't start till here. So let's just move our arrow, our right arrow, hit that a couple times to move our playhead to the right a couple frames. Then we'll mark an in.
That's not how it is. I already told.
Oops, my audio dropped out there a little bit.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Okay, so there we go, sure. So we'll mark an out point right before that. Go back down here, click the video only button so we can switch back to our video view. Play and out.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
And then insert or comma to edit that into the timeline. And I think for her sure line, I think maybe we go back to a close-up. We'll start with take 3, but work our way back if we need to.
He crawls under.
Let's back it up a little bit.
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
Like I said, we split all the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Okay. We'll use that one, at least for now. I to marking in,
Sure.
O to marking out, comma to edit that into the timeline. But then we will go back to the medium shot for Rory here. So I'm loading 20A take 2 back in. I'm going to hit go to out.
Sure.
Really? If how failure.
Okay, so I'm going to mark an in and an out around this line. I to mark it in.
Really? If Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
O to mark an out. Once again, playhead still at the end of my sequence. This time I'm just going to click in the middle of my source monitor, drag over to my program monitor. I'm going to drop it on insert. Then we will go to Tristan's medium shot. I'm going to hit go to out just to jump up to where we left off here.
Like I said, we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
If Hal could work for 24 hours, he would. He'd stay here day and night.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's see if we like her response here. So once again, I'm going to mark an endpoint right before she says her line.
Oh yes. He's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
Okay, maybe right about there. I'm going to mark an out. I'm going to hit the insert button. And then we'll go back to Rory's medium shot for her response to that. I'm going to click the go to out button just to jump to that out point where we left off here.
Oh yes. He's a saint. Maybe he didn't leave at all. Maybe he just crawls under the desk and goes to sleep whenever he gets tired.
No.
Let's see.
Whenever he gets tired.
Okay, so maybe right about here. We'll hit I to mark an in.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
And I'm going to mark an out. And I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, comma, to insert that at the end of my timeline. We'll go to Tristan's medium shot. Going to hit the go to out button.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it must be.
Okay, so once again, I'm just going to find the beginning of her line, or maybe it's working too well. I to mark an in.
Or maybe it works too well.
I'm not sure I like that one. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. I'm going to play in to out.
Or maybe it works too well.
But let me check the other medium shot.
Slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
Like I said, we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
If Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would. He'd stay here day and night.
Oh yes, he's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under the desk and sleeps whenever he's tired.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well. Well, I wish your way being more.
Okay, so I'm just going to back it up here. Going to hit I to mark it in.
Or maybe it works too well.
Okay, I'll use that one. So So I'm going to mark an in and an out,
Or maybe it works too well.
and then insert, and then back to Rory, go to out.
Or maybe it works too well.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to mark an in.
What is this?
Mark an in, mark an out.
What is this?
Insert. And then we will go back to Tristan's close-up for veggie burger.
Weird. Your mind's not working right.
Oh, probably. Oh, yes, he's such a saint. You know what? I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under the desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
Okay, so I'm going to mark that. Item marking in.
A veggie burger.
I heard a little bit of the Rory's line before that, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful when I mark my in.
A veggie burger.
Mark an out,
A veggie burger.
and then insert. And then we want to go back to Rory's close-up for I wanted a hamburger.
Hours he would. Oh, he'd stay here day and night.
Oh, yes, he's a saint. I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under the desk and sleeps here whenever he gets tired.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted. No,
Okay, so I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
but I wanted a hamburger.
Once again, I use my left and right arrows to be a little bit more careful, be a little bit more precise before I mark my out point. Play in to out.
But I wanted a hamburger.
Insert. Go back to Tristan's close-up.
But I wanted a real hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
Is this some fake pretend to be meat?
Oh. No, you didn't. This is better.
There we go. So once again, with our actresses here, we would tell them, you know, if you just mess up, let's back up a couple lines and like pick it up from there. Let's not stop the whole take. So that's what she did there. So I'm just going to back this up. I to marking in.
No, you didn't. This is better.
O to marking out. And once again, insert or comma. Going to go back to Rory's angle because she's going to try to protest here a little bit.
No, you didn't. This is better.
Okay, right here, I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
What is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
Marking out. Play into out.
What is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
And then I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, comma, on my keyboard. I'm going to go down to the bottom of my timeline. I'm going to zoom out just a bit here. And I will kind of check what I've been editing because I've done a few edits here and really haven't watched it. Let's go ahead and watch it.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
What is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
Okay, so let's go back to our medium shot for this. I'm going to hit my go to out button just to jump where I left off on this clip.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
But is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I
Okay, so we'll mark that.
meat pretend burgers?
Okay, so once again, using my left and right arrows. Maybe right about here, I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
O to mark and out. And then once again, I'm going to insert this. And here's where it gets tricky because they're going to kind of start to talk over each other a little bit here. So I'm going to go back to Rory's medium shot. I'm going to hit go to out.
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
What is this? Some fake not meats, pretend meats?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No.
Okay, so here we go. But I really wanted a hamburger.
Don't trust those. This is true veggie.
So once again, left and right arrows to get it precisely where I want to mark my endpoint. I to mark an in.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
But before I mark my out, I'm going to go to my audio view by clicking this audio waveform button here. Once again, I'm going to zoom in. Once again, you don't have to do this, but it'll usually make it a little easier, especially when your actors start to talk over each other a little bit. So I can clearly see where Rory stops talking and Tristan starts talking. So I can precisely mark my in and out points. I'm going to go back to my video view. I'm going to hit play video in to out.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
And then I'm going to insert this. Let's go back to Tristan's medium shot. Go to out to jump where we left off.
But I really...
No, this is more healthy.
Okay, so like this one, it's really difficult.
But I really...
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, maybe we might go back to this one, but let's check our other, where they don't quite talk over each other quite so much.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
Is this one of those fake meats, pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust this.
Is this one of those fake meat, pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is better.
Is this one of those fake meat, pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really...
No, this is
really...
Okay, so let's see. Okay, right about there where she starts to say no, no, no. So I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Not great. You know, I'd figure better ways to do this, but for keeping it simple right now, this is going to be close enough. I'm going to hit play video in to out.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
And once again, because they're audio on different channels, I can later go in and kind of bring her audio down. But for right now, that's pretty darn close. So I've marked it in and out. Playhead is still at the end of my sequence. So I'm going to hit the insert button to edit that in. And then let's just see. Okay, so at this point, Rory gives in and takes a bite of the burger. And because we didn't want to make her take a bite of the burger every time we did this scene, we did just a couple special takes where she bites the burger. So we're going to go down. We've got 20J take 1, 20J take 2. I'm just going to take a look at 20J take 1. Okay, so we'll go this whole thing. We'll do her taking it out. We don't need to go all the way back. Let's see. Okay, so here's the action. This is going to make it kind of slow it down a little bit, but we'll just take it from here as she starts to reach into the bag. So I to mark it in. Okay, we'll just use that one. So we'll mark it out there. And once again, I'm going to hit the insert button or comma on my keyboard. And then we're going to play it. We're going to check it out and see what we have so far. And then we're going to go back and we're going to improve it. Okay, right now, we're just putting the main parts of our sequence in here, the meat and potatoes, but we'll go back and we'll kind of spice it up a little bit in a moment. But I'm going to click on my timeline. I'm going to hit the home key, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to see what we have so far.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay. What is this?
Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Really, if Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
Oh, yes. He's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
What, is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, so there's our rough edit. It's not bad, but we're going to come back after our little break here and kind of make it a little bit better. So if you have not gotten this all the way edited yet, this is a good time to pause this video, do your rough edit, get it kind of to this point here, and then when we start back up, we will add some reaction shots. We'll also insert some stuff at the beginning of our sequence here so we can really take a look at the difference between insert and overwrite. So I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start back up. So now we're going to talk about the difference between insert and overwrite. So for the first part of this edit, we were just putting one clip right after another. Okay, and we could achieve that by doing insert or overwrite. You know, just play ahead at the end of your sequence, insert or overwrite, one clip right after another. But now let's really take a look at the difference between insert and overwrite. Let's go to the beginning of our sequence here. And we've got this other bin in our project that we're calling cutaways. You might call it B-roll. But basically, they're just shots of things around Rory's desk that maybe we will use as kind of like establishing shot material. Okay, so we're going to go over to our project tab. We're going to double click our cutaways bin. We're going to put the bin in icon view. So once again, bottom left corner of the window here, we have list view, we have icon view, we have freeform view. We're just going to put this in icon view. Just going to make those a little larger. And we'll just grab a few of these to insert at the beginning of our sequence. Okay, so maybe we'll start with, I don't know, the little cat poster here. Okay, so I'm going to mark a few seconds of this. Okay, so I'm going to hit I to mark it in, O to mark it out. And I was just counting about 2 or 3 seconds out in my head as I did that. Okay, now let's look down in the timeline. I have been kind of ignoring what's going on over here on the left side of the timeline. Here we have what's called, some people call this the patch panel. You can also call each of these individual areas for each track headers. But this is how we determine what tracks that are clips from our source monitor, where they're going to go in our timeline. Okay, so this sequence has 3 video tracks and 4 audio tracks. That's like the default setting for creating new sequences, that they by default have 3 video tracks, 4 audio tracks. Now, we have these what are called track selectors on the left. Okay, and we've got a video 1 track selector and an audio 1 track selector. This represents the clip that I have loaded in my source monitor. Okay, so this clip has 1 video track and 1 audio track. Now, if we go back to our Scene 20 clips and load one of these into the source monitor, these clips had 3 tracks. They had 1 video track and 2 audio tracks. Okay, so once again, these track selectors on the left represent the clip that you have loaded in the source monitor. The track selectors on the right represent your timeline, your sequence. Now, when you're doing insert and overwrite edits, the only thing that matters are the track selectors on the left. In fact, if you rest your mouse over any of these, a tooltip will pop up that basically says that source patching for inserts and overwrites. Okay, so when you're doing inserts and overwrites, the only thing that matters is what's going on the left. The track selectors on the right, they can be on or off. In fact, I'm going to turn them off just to demonstrate this. And then I'm going to go back over to my cutaways bin, and I'm going to reload that cat picture here. Now, if we look right now, my video 1 source is pointing to my video 1 program or sequence track. And that means when I do this edit, my source video is going to go into track 1. My A1 right now is patched to A2. So if I did my edit right now, the sound from this clip would go onto the audio 2 track in the timeline. I don't want it to do that. I want it to go to audio 1. So I'm going to click and just drag it straight up. Okay, so notice we can click and we can move these around to patch them to other tracks, basically directing the audio or the video where we want them to go in the timeline. Okay, so for these first couple of edits, I want video 1 patched to video 1 target or program track, audio 1 patched to audio 1 target or program track. Okay, now I want to do an insert. I want to insert that clip in and push all these other clips down to the right. So I'm going to click the insert button or comma on my keyboard. And it inserts that clip, both video and audio, and pushes the other clips down to the right. Now I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go down here to the bottom of my timeline, grab the side of the scroll bar here, kind of drag it to the left to zoom in, and I'm just going to drag my playhead back and play it.
Lunch break.
Okay, now I want to insert a couple of more clips at the beginning of my timeline. So I want to make sure and snap my playhead to this edit point. Now to snap your playhead to the edit point, there's a couple of things that we can do, but we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Go up to your Premiere Pro menu and go to Settings. Premiere Pro Settings. And go to your timeline settings. On a Windows system, they might be called Preferences, and you'll find it under one of your other menus. I think it's the Edit menu, maybe the File menu. But on a Mac, I'm on a Mac. So it's Premiere Pro Settings, Timeline. And check this box right here. There's a box called Snap Playhead in Timeline when Snap is enabled. Snap Playhead in Timeline when Snap is enabled. Check that box if it's not already checked. Click OK. And now, if you drag your playhead in your timeline, when it gets near an edit point, you will see it snap like a magnet to the edit. Okay, that is called snapping. And right here is the button that turns snapping on and off. This button right here that looks like a magnet. When it's blue, it's on. When it's gray, it's off. Okay, so I'm going to drag my playhead so it snaps to the edit point in between this first clip, the picture of the cat, and the first scene 20 clip, because I want to insert a shot in between those. If you do not have it right at the edit point, if it's in the middle of another clip, it will actually split that clip when you do the edit, and we don't want that to happen. So that's why we have snapping on, so we make sure that our playhead is snapped to the edit. Alternatively, you can just use your up and down arrows until your playhead is at the edit point where you want to insert the clip. Okay, so I'm going to load another clip in. So I'll do, I'll do the shot of the stapler. Okay, and then once again, I'm just going to mark a couple of seconds of this. I to mark it in, O to mark it out, and then I'm going to hit the insert button or comma on my keyboard. It inserts that clip in, pushes the other clips down to the right. Okay, let's do two more of these. Let's see. First of all, we've got this shot here of the computer monitor, and that is out of focus. That's no good. Who shot this? Oh, wait a second, I did. Well, we can't use that. So let's use. We'll do the shot of the camera here. So I'm going to hit I to mark it in, O to mark it out, and insert. Inserts that clip, pushes the other clips down to the right. And we'll do one more. Let's do the cute picture of this dog here. Okay, and then once again, mark it in, mark it out. And this time, with my playhead still at this edit point, I'm just going to click, drag over to the program monitor. I'm going to drop this on insert. Inserts the clip, pushes all the other clips down to the right. I'm going to drag my playhead back and check it.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay, so let's do a couple more of these. So I'm just going to drag my playhead back to the beginning of this first scene 20 clip. So it snaps in between this cutaway or this insert shot here and the first scene 20 clip. I'm going to go back to my scene 20 clips bin, and we do have a shot of Tristan walking. 20F take 3. 20F take 3. Okay, so maybe I want a couple seconds of this to kind of start out the scene. Okay, so I'm going to mark a couple seconds of this. I to mark it in, 1001, 1002, 1003. O to mark it out. Maybe back this up just a little bit. O to mark it out. And here's why we're not going to overwrite. Here's why we don't want to overwrite it. If I hit the overwrite button, starting at the playhead, it would overwrite or cover up whatever was in front of the playhead. Okay, so, or after the playhead technically, I guess. So let's just take a look at this. So here's the overwrite button. Period is the keyboard shortcut. If I hit that, it's going to overwrite or cover up part of that clip. Just going to drag my playhead back and check it.
Just a minute.
No.
See, I covered up part of her line here with that overwrite. I did not want to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to hit Command Z to undo that. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo it, and now I'm going to do an insert. I'm going to hit the insert button or comma on my keyboard to insert the walking, and now it pushes these other clips down to the right. I'm going to drag my playhead back and check it.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay.
Okay, so that's better. Now let's take a look at a situation where we do want to do an override. Okay, so there are a couple of places here where I think we could maybe add some good reaction shots. Okay, so I'm going to just play it from here.
What is this? Green tea. But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately.
Okay, right there. She says you're looking a little puffy lately. This is a good place to cut to Rory reacting. Okay, so I'm going to play it, and I'm going to play it right after she says puffy lately.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately.
Okay, right about there. So I'm just going to leave my play it right there. That's where we're going to put our next clip. I'm going to go over to my Scene 20 clip spin, find one of Rory's close-ups. We'll just start with take 3. We'll see if this is the one we want to use. But once again, I'm going to go find that line where she says you're looking a little puffy lately.
Soda's bad for you, and you've been looking a little puffy lately. So this is better for you. Trust me.
Okay, so she does this kind of, where she puts her hand up, like she's kind of worried about it. Okay, so I'm going to hit I to mark it in.
Better for you. Trust me.
O to mark it out. Now, here's where the patch panel comes in. Okay, I don't want the audio from this clip in the timeline. I only want to bring the video. So over here on the patch panel, I'm going to turn A1 and A2 on the source side. I'm going to turn those off. And I'm basically saying, don't bring the audio. The video, I want to put the video up here onto the second video track. So I'm going to grab my video 1 source and I'm going to drag it up to video 2. And I'm basically saying, take the video from my source clip and edit it up here onto video 2. Don't bring the audio. Now, we don't want to do an insert. This is where we want to do an overwrite. So I'm going to hit the overwrite button or period on my keyboard. And it's going to overwrite that clip onto the video 2 track. I'm going to drag my play it back and check my work.
What is this? Green tea. But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Okay, and there's my reaction shot. Okay, now I'm just going to play through this, and pretty much any of these longer clips here, I probably want to cut to a reaction maybe in the middle of them. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this process a couple times.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day.
Okay, so this would be a good place to show Tristan reacting to that. Maybe we'll do a medium shot. Okay, so I'm just going to load her medium shot in. I'm going to listen for that line of dialogue. So what's the line of dialogue? What's Rory saying?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts...
Okay, he finishes projects from the day before. Let's find that here.
Just a minute.
No. Now.
Okay. What is this? Green tea. But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. So this is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yeah, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and sets up projects for the next day.
Okay, right there. She's giving the kind of look there. So I'm just going to mark an in and an out around that.
Yeah, it's kind of the
So I'm just going to mark an in.
projects for the next day. Sometimes
I'm going to mark an out. And then once again, I'm going to double check my patching down here because we don't want to bring the audio in. We don't care about audio. We just care about the video. So A1 and A2 are still off. Video 1 is still patched to video 2. My playhead is where I want to put that shot. And then I'm going to overwrite. I'm going to hit the overwrite button or period on my keyboard to overwrite that reaction shot in. And the thing is, we're putting it on an upper track. And basically, when the playhead plays through the timeline, whatever's on top is what you're going to see in the program monitor when the playhead hits it.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an...
Okay, I feel like that reaction is a little too early, but all I can do is I can just grab it and just drag it a little over to the right so it starts a little later, drag my playhead back and check it.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage
Okay, I'm going to do this a couple more times.
of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off. And
Okay, somewhere around here,
What?
I say you open your own business.
somewhere around you open your own business. We'll go to a medium shot of Rory. Let's zoom out here.
Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
Why are you such an apologist for him? I think he's taking advantage of you.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to work for someone who slacks off any chance he gets and leaves you to do all the work.
That's
Okay, so right there. So once again, it really doesn't matter what Tristan is saying. We just need her reaction. So I'm going to mark an in and an out.
Work for someone who slacks off any chance he gets and leaves you to do all the work.
That's
Girl, well, all we do.
So we'll mark that little piece right there. Double check my patching. Video 1 patched to video 2. A1 and A2 on the source side are off. And overwrite or period on my keyboard. Drag my playhead back and check it.
You know what I say?
what?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Okay, I think that works. I think we've got one or two more we can put in here.
Really, if Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
Oh, yes. He's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
Okay, so right about here, that would be a good, her kind of laughing at that. So once again, I still have this loaded in the source monitor.
To do all the work.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Really, if Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
Oh, yes. He's a saint. Maybe he didn't leave at all. Maybe he just crawls out.
Okay, right there. So her little laugh right here. I to mark an in.
Maybe he just crawls under the desk.
O to mark an out. My plate is where I want that clip to go in the timeline. Video 1 is patched to video 2. The other two tracks are off. And this time I'm going to click in the middle of my source monitor, drag over to the program monitor, and I'm going to drop this on overlay. Or actually, no, not overlay, sorry. Overwrite. Overwrite. That's what I want. And that's going to put that up on the video 2 track.
Really, if Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
Oh, yes. He's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
Okay, I feel like that started a little too early, so I'm just going to click on that in the timeline. I'm just going to drag it a little bit to the right.
Oh, yes. He's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
What, is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, so let's see if we can find a reaction shot. We might not have a good reaction shot for Tristan here, but let's see if we can find one. From the end of either of these takes.
But is this some pretend meat burger?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I...
No, you didn't. This is much healthier. Trust me.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, she does a little proud look there. So we'll just mark an in and an out around that. Probably right about here. Once again, video 1 is still on, A1 and A2 off. And we're just going to hit the overwrite button or period on our keyboard. Drag our play it back and check it. Okay, and I think we could do one more. Let's drag our play to the end of this clip. And once again, I'll just let it snap like a magnet. And we do have a shot of her picking up the burger. 20K take 1. Okay, and we'll just mark a kind of an in and an out around that. I to mark an in. O to mark an out. Once again, video 1 still patched to video 2, A1 and A2 off. Overwrite. Let's see if this works. And there we go. Okay, so anytime you find yourself pausing, hit Command S to save your work. And now we're just going to do a couple of little touch-up things on this sequence here, okay? We've got a pretty decent edit going. Still a few things I want to fix, but overall, we're kind of happy with it. But now let's talk about trimming a little bit of this stuff out. Let's talk about getting rid of some of this stuff. Okay, now we're going to talk about very straightforward ways of removing parts of clips. Okay, there are actually really good trim tools in Premiere Pro. We will talk about those in a different lesson, but for this one, we're going to keep it simple. So I'm just gone back to the beginning of my sequence here. We've got these 4 clips, these shots from around her desk. And I feel like they are way too long. Okay, they're probably twice as long as they should be. So I'm going to trim them. And we're going to do it this way. We're going to add an edit to the clip and simply delete the part that we don't want. Okay, as I said, there are other tools for doing this, but we're going to take a more straightforward approach. So up until now, we have just been using our selection tool to do our editing. Okay, so if we go over here, this is called our tool palette. Our main tool that you're going to use most of the time is called your selection tool. But there are other tools available to us here. And the 4th tool down is called the razor tool. And the razor tool we can use to add edits into a clip. Okay, so I'm going to click on the razor tool. And I'm going to put my mouse over the timeline. And when I do, it turns into the razor tool. But it's a razor with a slash through it. And that basically means you can't use the tool here. But as soon as you put it over a clip, now it looks like a razor blade. And what I can do is I can put my mouse over a clip and I can click to split the clip. So let's say I want to cut this clip in half. I put my mouse over the clip and I click, and that's going to add an edit. And I've split the clip. Now you'll see on my system here that I now see these little white arrows. Some people call that the bow tie, to let me know that I've added an edit there. Okay, that's if you've added an edit. Now, if you're not seeing that, the timeline has its own settings menu, this little wrench menu right here. And this is called a through edit, when you add an edit like that, and it's frame to frame on both sides of the edit. So if I uncheck that, show through edits, I no longer see those little white arrows. And it makes it hard to see if you've added an edit to a clip. Because even though there's an edit there, if I were to play it and look at my program monitor, you would have no idea that there's an edit there. Okay, because it's frame to frame. So that's why they've got this option to click on this settings menu, that wrench menu, and say show through edits. So you can see where those through edits are. Okay, now I've split the clip in half, and let's say I want to get rid of the first part of the clip. Well, I can go back to my arrow tool, my selection tool. I'm going to go over to my tool palette, click on my selection tool. I'm going to click on the part of the clip that I want to get rid of, and I'm going to hit the backspace key, the delete key, on my keyboard. That deletes that clip, but it leaves a gap in the timeline, and I don't want a gap. So I can now click in the gap to select the gap and hit delete again, and that will close the gap. I've now trimmed that clip. I split the clip, deleted the part that I didn't want. It left a gap, so I clicked in the gap and I hit delete again, and that deleted the gap. That clip is now much shorter. Okay, so let me show you another way to do that. I'm going to grab my razor tool again. I'm going to grab my razor tool again, the next clip over. Once again, I'm going to click somewhere in the middle to split that clip. I'm going to go back to my selection tool. I'm going to go over to my tool palette, click on the selection tool. Let's say I want to get rid of the second part of the clip. So I click on it. Now I'm always trying to save myself a step here and there. So instead of deleting the clip and then deleting the gap, I can delete the clip and the gap at the same time by hitting Option backspace on my keyboard. Option backspace will do what's called a ripple delete. Deletes the clip and closes the gap at the same time. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that, just so you can watch it again. So once again, I click on the clip, and I can do Option Delete. Alternatively, you could have also right-clicked and from this menu chosen Ripple Delete. I'm going to drag my playback, and then I'm going to repeat that process. I'm going to grab my razor tool, split the clip, go back to my arrow tool, click the part of the clip that I want to get rid of, Option Delete. And then finally this last clip here, grab my razor tool, split the clip, go back to my arrow tool, delete the part that I don't want, Option Delete. Now, as I said, there are other better tools for doing this, but when you're first starting out, this is a little easier to understand. Okay, and this actually more resembles back in the day where we were actually cutting film. You know, actually cutting and splicing film and kind of taping it back together. Okay, now I'm just going to play this and see how it feels.
Lunch break.
Okay, so now I want to replace this. So once again, here's how I can do this.
Lunch break.
Okay, so I've got a different shot of her walking and saying lunch break. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to overwrite this part of the clip with the clip that I want. Okay, so let's first of all find the shot of her saying lunch break. Okay, so we've got 20G. We've got 20G take 1, 20G take 2. I'm just going to start with take 2.
Scene 20G. Take 2.
So once again, we're going to start walking, then give me a couple beats after action, and then your line. Okay, here we go, and action.
Lunch break.
Okay, right here. Okay, so
Lunch break.
okay, so we're going to get kind of clever with this one. I'm going to mark an in and an out over the part of the clip that I want to replace in the timeline. Okay, so I'm going to drag my playhead to the beginning of the clip till I see it snap like a magnet to the head of the clip, and I'm going to hit I to mark an in. Okay, this is our first time really marking an endpoint in the timeline. Up until now, we've been using our playhead as our endpoint. But if you specifically mark an endpoint by hitting I, this will now take precedence over the playhead. I'm going to play it.
Lunch break.
And I'm going to hit O after she says lunch break. Okay, so now I've marked an in and an out in the timeline of the part of the clip that I want to replace. Then I know I want this to end with her saying lunch break. Okay, here we go, and action.
Lunch break.
So after she says lunch break in the source monitor, I'm going to hit O to mark an out. And I'm setting up what's called a 3-point edit. I've marked an in and an out in the timeline and just an out point in the source monitor. And it's going to take whatever it needs before the out point to fill in this space in the timeline. This is also referred to when you mark an out point instead of an in point. This is called back timing the edit. Okay, now I'm still not ready to do the edit yet because I want to overwrite or cover up all of this in the timeline. So this is where the patch panel comes in. First of all, we want V1 back down on V1 because we're covering up where we're overwriting this. And then we do want the audio from these clips. So I'm going to turn A1 and A2 back on. Okay, so I've marked an in and an out around the part of the clip that I want to overwrite. I've turned all these tracks back on. V1 patch to V1, A1 and A2 patch to A1 and A2. And I've marked just an out point in the source monitor. Now I'm going to overwrite. I'm going to hit the overwrite button or period on my keyboard. And then I'm going to drag my playhead back and check my work.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay, now we're going to do the same thing over here, but we're going to do it a different way. I've got a shot of Rory saying just a minute. So I'm going to start by removing the part of the clip here where she says just a minute.
Just a minute.
Okay, so I'm going to put my playhead right after she says just a minute. I'm going to grab my razor tool, and I'm going to split the clip at that point. Notice that my razor tool will actually snap to the playhead. And then I can click and add my edit. Go back to my arrow tool, delete the part of the clip where she says just a minute.
Just a minute.
Click it, Option Delete. Option Delete will delete that clip and close the gap. But now we need to go find the shot that we want to insert here. So I'm going to scroll down, and it is 20H. Looks like we've got a 20H take 1, 20H take 2. We'll do 20H take 2. And I believe she does it a couple times here, so we'll watch both of them. Once again, lean out further again just so I can get ready. Good, very good. Okay, and action.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
We're going to keep it rolling. Okay, and one more time, action.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
Okay, we'll do the second one.
Lunch break.
Okay, so I'm going to mark an endpoint just after lunch break
Just a minute.
and an out point right after just a minute. Okay, I'm going to hit play video into
Just
out.
a minute.
And then my playhead's where I want to insert that clip. V1, A1, and A2 are all on. This time I want to do an insert. So I'm going to hit the insert button or comma on my keyboard. I'm going to drag my playback and check it.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay, and there is, I've replaced that clip. Now, as I said, there are a lot of other ways to do this. This particular lesson, we're just keeping it super simple. Super simple. Okay, now, we're going to take a short break here. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about a quick way to kind of get the audio kind of where we want it. There's going to be a little, tweaking we have to do here and there. But we're going to do a little bit of audio. Then we're going to talk about how to export this. Okay, so if you haven't gotten this finished, go ahead and pause the video here. Finish your sequence. And when we come back, we'll do a little bit of audio. Then we'll talk about exporting. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick gain adjustment on all of our audio. And we're going to do it to all of our clips with dialogue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore these first 4 clips and the walking.
Lunch break.
Okay, and then I'm going to select everything after that. Okay, so here's a quick way to select all the clips to the left of, where my playhead is, basically. If we go up to our tool palette, the second tool down is called the Track Select Forward tool. If we click and hold, there are actually 2 tools there available to us there. There's also a Track Select Backward tool, but we want the Track Select Forward tool. I'm going to put my mouse just over that clip that I want to select and then everything to the right of it, and I'm going to click. Whoops, let me go just a little bit earlier. And that's going to select that clip and everything to the right of it. Then we're going to do a quick gain adjustment. To do a gain adjustment, you can either go to Clip, Audio Options, Audio Gain, or you can use the keyboard shortcut G for gain. Okay, so I select all those clips, and I'm going to hit G for gain. And there are a few different options. Set gain to specific level, -3, -4. Adjust gain by, +5, -7. Or normalize max peak. And what normalize max peak will do, it will analyze the audio in that clip, and it will adjust the gain to make it peak at a certain level. And then we have normalize all peaks, and that will do that for each selected clip in the timeline. So we're going to say normalize all peaks. And typically with dialogue, you want your dialogue averaging somewhere between -6 and -12 on your audio meters. So if we look over here on our audio meters, we've got -6, -12. We kind of want our dialogue in that area. So I'm going to say normalize all peaks to, notice right now it says 0. Where I'm going to click where it says 0, and I'm going to type in -6. -6. Normalize all peaks to -6. I click OK. And now when I play it, your dialogue should be a lot louder. Now, most of these clips are now going to be in the ballpark of where we want them. However, somewhere in here, there's a clip where we put in a reaction shot that there's no audio to. So what that's going to do is that's going to take the background noise and raise that. And so that one clip is going to be really noisy and sound really bad. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to our arrow tool. So we're going to go back up here. We're going to click on our selection tool, and we're going to play it. We're going to keep an eye on our audio meters and obviously listen to our audio or our dialogue as it plays. And when we find that one clip where it's going to be really bad, we're going to stop it. We're going to fix it.
Lunch break.
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay. What is this?
Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't.
Okay, that's it right there. So where that reaction shot is, that background noise gets way too loud. Now, yeah, I'm aware as we listen, there is some little hum that we hear. There's some other audio that we're going to want to fix. That's not what this class is about, but there are great tools for working with audio in Premiere Pro. I will probably do a I'll do a separate video. I'll try to do a separate video pretty soon so we can talk about how we would fix all these little issues within Premiere Pro. But for right now that I found the one clip where the audio is really bad, I'm just going to stop it right there, leave my playhead right there. I'm going to grab this zoom slider here, just kind of pull that in. Okay, that clip right there. I'm just going to select the one clip. I'm going to hit G for gain. And I'm going to go back up here to set gain to. I'm going to put this back at 0. That's like the starting point for gain. Set gain to 0. And then I'm just going to play through the rest of this and see if there's any other.
He isn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Really, if Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
Oh, yes. He's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
What, is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, so we're going to do a couple more things just for fun. I'm going to zoom in here near the end. And without getting too deep into the weeds here, I'm going to make my Audio 1 and Audio 2 tracks a little larger. I'm going to go over here to the patch panel. I'm going to put my mouse in between the two track headers. And when I see this double-headed arrow, I'm going to click and drag down. That's going to make my Audio 1 track a little larger. And then I'm going to put my mouse in between Audio 2 and Audio 3. And when I see that double-headed arrow, I'm going to click and drag down to make my Audio 2 track larger. And if you look really close, with these tracks made taller, there are these white lines that are going through the middle of the tracks. Those white lines represent volume controls. And basically what I'd want to do here.
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, so right here where they're kind of talking over each other, this media has already been prepared where Rory's dialogue is on one track and Tristan's dialogue is on another track. And for example, this one right here, I can grab this volume line for A1 and I can pull this down.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, and as I do this, we're hearing less of Rory and really just focusing on Tristan.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, and what I can do is I can basically kind of alternate this. Like in this one, we'd want to hear Rory, but not hear Tristan's microphone.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No.
Okay, so essentially I would go through and kind of raise and lower this volume control to further isolate their dialogue, because we're getting a little bit of an echo, a little bit of a reverb, and it's simply because the other person's microphone is kind of picking up, a little bit, the other person talking. Okay, it's not that big of a deal through most of this.
Lunch break.
Okay, but like right here, I'd probably want to pull this down.
Lunch break.
That's going to give us a lot cleaner audio.
Just a minute.
And then really from here, it's almost like an alternating
Just a minute.
between each of these. So let's bring this one down.
Now.
Okay. What is
And then once they get closer to each other, it's not as big of a deal.
this?
Green tea.
But we can go through.
But I wanted a Coke. But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately.
Okay, so we want to pull that down.
Bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me.
And if the audio waveform, because sometimes this starts to look a little busy and you're not quite sure what you want to do, which one you want to get rid of, if you want to hide the audio waveform, remember we've got this little wrench menu right here, that settings menu in your timeline. We can click on that and we can deselect show audio waveform, and that'll simply hide it from view.
Where's Hal?
He's out.
And then once again, we can just kind of alternate these for the most part.
Out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
And this should take care of that hum, because it sounds like the hum's coming from
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Rory's microphone.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day.
By the way, you could also potentially do this with gain. I think it's just better the way the way I've been taught is we typically start with gain to kind of get your clip into the ballpark of where you want it. And then we can use volume to make more fine-tune adjustments. Later on in other lessons, we're going to talk about how to keyframe volume so you can make the volume go up and down within a clip. Right now, I'm just raising and lowering the entire clip. So I know you guys are probably like, oh, how do I keyframe volume? Okay, hint, there's a tool over here called the Pen tool. That's how you keyframe volume. I'm going to talk about that in a different lesson as well. Once again, we're kind of keeping it simple here. So once again, we're just kind of doing this, for every other clip here.
Before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Really, if Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
Oh yes, he's such a saint. I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under the desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
No. Mm-mm. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it...
Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
Okay, so let me show you this. This is kind of bugging me. There's a little bit of overlapping dialogue that maybe I want to trim off here. And we're going to do it using the tools we've already talked about. As I said, there are better ways to do this, but for this, we're going to do it this way. First of all, I want to be able to see the audio I'm going to cut off. So I'm going to go back up here, that little wrench menu, that settings menu. I'm going to turn my audio waveforms back on. I'm going to zoom in nice and close.
Or maybe it works.
So there's just a little bit right there that I want to trim off. So I'm going to grab my razor tool. I'm going to add an edit. Go back to my arrow tool. Select the part that I don't want, that little bit right there. Option, delete. Option, delete. And I've trimmed a little bit off the head of that clip.
Working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
There's still a little overlap there, but I'm going to leave that for now.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
What, is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this.
Okay, here again.
No.
There's a little bit right at the beginning. So I'm just going to grab my razor tool, add an edit, go back to my selection tool, select the part of the clip that I want to trim off, option delete.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
And then finally, the rest of this is hers. So I'm just going to pull this down. Okay, so let's say we're done. We're happy with it. We're ready to export it so people can watch it. So first off, anytime you find yourself pausing, Command S to save your work. We're going to do a quick and simple export. Like, let's say you want to export this for YouTube or some other type of like social media. Well, if we go up here to the top left corner here, we've got these three tabs. Import, which we already saw is one way that we can import media into our project. Edit, which is where you're going to spend 90% of your time doing your editing. But then we have export. And this is how we export our work when we're done. Okay, so we're going to keep it simple. Once again, we're going to keep it simple. We just want to export for YouTube. So I go over here, destination. I'm going to turn off media file. So there's little switches over here. I'm going to say, nope, I don't want to do a media file. That this is really just a custom media file. That's what this should really say, custom media file. But then there are a bunch of presets. Okay, so like if you got Facebook presets, Vimeo presets, YouTube. We're going to click the switch next to YouTube. Okay, then for the file name, it's going to name it after your sequence followed by YouTube. So, you know, this is your YouTube export. So I'm going to say, okay, I just want to call this Scene 20. I'll leave the YouTube, but I'll get rid of the version 1. So it's going to be Scene 20 YouTube. It's going to make an MP4. And then this line right here, the blue text, this is where it's going to put the file. It's going to place the file that you're going to export. So by default, it wants to place it in that Adobe folder inside your Documents folder. So Adobe, Premiere Pro, and then the version of Premiere that you're on. Okay, but I don't want to put it there. So I'm going to click this blue text. That's going to open up a Finder window. And then I'm going to navigate to where I want to put this. So I'm going to put it on my external drive. I'm going to click Media 001. I'll create a folder for it. I'll click New Folder. I'll call this Exports. Exports. And I'm going to click Create. Make sure that that's selected. Click Save. And now when I look here at Location, I can see that it's going to go to my media drive inside the Exports folder. Then I'm going to look at my presets. Okay, so there's like, 4K, HD, standard definition presets. I'm going to leave it set to 1080p. Format, H.264. This is what YouTube wants. Okay, so once again, I'm really not a lot of reason to change these unless you do want 4K or unless you want to make it smaller like standard definition. You can change that. You can even sign into YouTube. So when it's done exporting, it will also upload it to YouTube. So you can choose the channel you want it to upload it to, playlist, title, description, all that. I'm not going to do any of that. And it will give me a little kind of warning at the end that say it didn't upload it to YouTube. But that's okay. I don't want it to upload to YouTube. I want to do that on my own later. Okay, so I'm going to leave myself signed out here. And then really, if you want to, you can double check the settings. But this is all based on the preset. So I've got video settings, 1920 by 1080, frame rate, things like that. Audio settings, AAC, 48 kilohertz, stereo. These are the settings that YouTube wants. Okay, then there are also options for like effects, where you can add like a time code burn or an overlay. We're not doing any of that. Metadata, you can, embed marker information, things like that. I'm just going to turn those off just by clicking the little switch to the right of them. Not that it really matters because there's none of that in this anyway. And then I'm going to leave this set to entire source. And then I'm going to click Export. This should export pretty fast. Looks like it's going to take about a minute on my system. So the speed of the export, a lot of it's going to determine, how much RAM you have, how much processing power you have. But I'm just going to kind of let this fast forward. Okay, so it looks like our export is just about done. We have about 5 seconds left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide Premiere Pro here. Notice it gave me an error, but this error is just telling me that it did not upload it to YouTube because I didn't sign into YouTube. That's okay. I'm going to hit Command H to hide this. I'm going to go to my external drive. There's my exports. Here's my MP4 file. I'm just going to double click it to open it in QuickTime, and we're going to play it and check our work.
Lunch break!
Just a minute.
No, now.
Okay. What is this?
Green tea.
But I wanted a Coke.
Soda's bad for you. Plus, you've been looking a little puffy lately. This is better for you. Trust me. Where's Hal?
He's out with John and Vincent.
Why do you let him do that to you?
What?
Dump all the work on you?
He doesn't.
He's never here.
He works at night.
Really?
Yes, it's true. He finishes projects from the day before and starts on new projects for the next day. Sometimes I think he just leaves because the sun is coming up.
You're such an apologist for him. He's taking advantage of you.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
You know what I say?
What?
I say you open your own business. You're too good to be working for someone who slacks off and leaves you to do all the work.
That's not how it is. I already told you we split the work equally. Really.
Sure.
Really, if Hal could work for 24 hours, I'm sure he would.
Oh yes, he's such a saint. You know, I bet he never even leaves. He probably crawls under desk and sleeps whenever he gets tired.
No. That's weird. Your mind's not working right.
Or maybe it works too well.
What is this?
A veggie burger.
But I wanted a hamburger.
No, you didn't. This is better.
What, is this one of those fake meat pretend burgers?
No, I don't trust those. This is true veggie.
But I really wanted a hamburger.
No, this is more healthy. Trust me.
Okay, so there we go. So there is our basic editing. Okay, this is our basic editing class. So once again, there are other ways that we can refine this. The whole point of this mini class here is, if you've never edited before, to really get you in there quickly and get you editing quickly so you know these basic tools. Now, if you're happy with this and want to continue on, and you did download the media for this class, if you paid the $9.95, you downloaded the media, hold on to that media, because I'm going to use the same media in my Avid class, where I'm going to cover these same topics, and my DaVinci Resolve class. Also, I will do more advanced classes using the same media, where I do talk a little bit more about trimming. I talk a little bit about doing, color grading, audio work, things like that, using the same media. So if you did download it, hold on to it if you're interested in those other classes, because we will use this over and over again. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the class, and I'll see you in the next one.